Pokémon Black and White 2 released all the way back in 2012, and I still haven't played them. Back when they came out, a sequel that seems so similar to its predecessors didn't grab my attention. Well, it seems like I overlooked something special, because these games are now hailed as ambitious, content-packed masterpieces that surpassed Black and White before them. Previously, I revisited Pokémon Platinum through rose-tinted nostalgia and tackled my first Nuzlocke with Pokémon White. Naturally, White 2 is next on the list. Coming into this, I only knew a few things about Black and White 2. They take place 2 years after the originals, we'll revisit some familiar faces, and Team Plasma is back. Other than that, I've somehow avoided spoilers all this time, so that makes me ask, are they worth the hype? How do they compare to the originals? Let's dive back into Unova and find out. Our story begins in Aspertia City. We meet our rival, Hugh, and together we head to Bianca, who's now Professor Juniper's assistant. What a glow up. In the previous games, Bianca seemed pretty indecisive about what she wanted when it came to Pokemon, so it's satisfying to see that she's found her path. We're given 3 starters to choose from, and I decide to go for the gremlin himself, Oshawott, and named him Star. As per tradition, we have a rival battle with Hugh. First impressions, he seems like a pretty run-of-the-mill rival, impatient and obsessed with getting stronger. He zooms off to the next town, and we need to catch up. But before that, Hugh's little sister gives us a town map. Thank you for this, because I have no idea where I am in Unova. Let's take a look. Huh, so we're starting in a new area compared to Pokemon White. That's a really cool way to make our journey start different. Following our map, we head to Flakesi Town to reach Hugh. The peaceful music here gives me major Digimon vibes. But the peace is short-lived. A member of Team Plasma shows up, and surprise, they're still bad. After saving a stolen Pokemon, all seems well, but Hugh is still riled up. After that, we head back to Aspertia to challenge the first gym, which is led by Charon. He's come a long way from being our rival in the last game, and is now a gym leader specializing in normal types. It's time to be put to the test. In this playthrough, I'm doing another Nuzlocke. For those of you who don't know what that is, it's a self-imposed challenge to make these games a bit harder. There are a couple rules. You can only catch the first Pokemon you encounter per area, and if a Pokemon faints, you can't use it anymore. And unlike my last Nuzlocke, I'll also be challenging myself to not overlevel past each gym. Here goes. Against Charon, I used a Mareep that I caught back at Flakesi, who I named Ollie. He managed to paralyze Charon's Pokemon with Static, giving Star the opening to win. First badge secured. This is already going better than my last Nuzlocke. On to the next gym in Burbank City. Around here, we start seeing the wild Pokemon variety widen compared to the first games. South of Burbank, you can find a Lekid, Growlithe, and Magnemite. But of course, I ran into a Pidove. Welcome, chick. After some grinding and evolving, we take on the second gym leader, Roxy, whose Pokemon were no match for Star. Before leaving, I made sure to stick around for this awesome gym music.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Then, the game makes you stop by Pokestar Studios. It's a side activity where you can film scripted battles like a movie and earn rewards. It's a neat concept, but it's not for me. After that, Team Plasma shows up. We chase them around and hop on a boat to pursue them. It's time to return to the mainland, Castelia City. Shortly after arriving, we chase them into Castelia sewers. These Team Plasma goons are still ranting about liberating Pokemon, but Hugh is quick to call them out on their BS. We deal with them, then meet a new character, Colress. A mysterious scientist that shows up right after the villain team is defeated? I do not trust this man. Afterwards, I caught a couple new Pokemon, Glory the Petalil and Mazel the Darumaka. Then it's time for the third gym. Let's see if this place has changed at all in the last 2 years. I was taken aback by this gym's calming aesthetics and music. This instantly became one of my favorite gym designs ever. Berg's got good taste, but his team did not stand a chance against Chick, who swept his bug types. Yeah, I learned my lesson from my last Nuzlocke. Type advantages. Crazy. Next stop, Nimbasa. This city's still as vibrant as ever. There's the musical theater, sports arenas, and the battle subway. But the gym has moved one building over. On my way here, I caught Funny the Sandile, and he took center stage against these electric types. But his performance was overshadowed by These gyms, man, they go hard. I know I keep complimenting them, so this will be the last time. Just know that they're one of my favorite parts of the sequels. Anyways, I eventually battled Elisa. Funny had a close call here, but pulled through and even evolved into a Crocorock. Post-gym, Team Plasma shows up again, and Hugh is angry.
You don't want to see me rage.
This guy hates Team Plasma's guts, because 5 years ago, they stole his sister's Purloin, and he's never forgiven himself for being too weak to stop them. Ever since, he's been obsessed with getting stronger to crush Team Plasma and save Purloin. In Driftveil City, Hugh's ready to throw some more hands, but the Team Plasma members here don't seem to be evil. In fact, they're actually taking care of Pokemon. Ever since the events of Pokemon Black and White, Team Plasma has split into two. There's the evil group that we've been running into that still works for Getsis, and the other became good, embracing N's ideals. Speaking of N, where is he? His absence in this game is palpable. Black and White 2's plot feels like it's gonna be about extinguishing the last embers of Team Plasma and Getsis, but without N, Unova feels kind of incomplete to me. Anyways, at the end of our conversation, we're given a Zorua. Awesome. Grinding around the area helped me quickly evolve him into a Zoroark, along with Ollie into an Ampharos, and Glory into a Lilligant. Unfortunately though, Chick didn't make it, falling in a triple battle. That's our first casualty. But hey, I think I got pretty far without one so far. Against Clay's gym, I could have easily bulldozed my way through with Star, but in this playthrough, I've been trying not to rely too heavily on my starter. So instead, I use Glory, who handled these ground types with ease. Clay then invites Hugh and I to check out Driftveil's newest attraction, the Pokemon World Tournament. This place looks like it's raking in money, which explains why Driftveil looks so rich now. We battle our way through brackets and meet Colress again, who spouts a familiar topic, truth and ideals. After a battle, guess who happens to be nearby? Team Plasma. At the Pokemon World Tournament's harbor, we learn that their hideout is a not-so-subtle, massive ship, and we meet one of their leaders, Zinzolin.
Wait a minute! Who are you?
For people like me that forgot about this guy, he used to be one of the 6 sages. He warns that Team Plasma will use a legendary dragon Pokemon to rule Unova. Then we're booted off the ship by Team Plasma's bodyguards, the Shadow Triad. Continuing on our journey, we enter Chargestone Cave, and things take a turn for the worse. Funny and Zoroark are taken out in another triple battle. No, losing these two stings. They were so cool. Thankfully, I was still able to get through this area with Mazel, who evolved into a Darmanitan. But man, caves are brutal. A saving grace is the nurse NPCs that heal your team, letting you avoid constant trips to the Pokemon Center. However, this particular nurse was concerning. What the hell? Forget about Team Plasma. This guy's the real villain here. Eventually, we arrive in Mistralton City. Skyla's gym is just as dangerous as it was 2 years ago. I don't think OSHA exists in the Pokemon universe. Star recently evolved into a Samurott, but the star of this gym was Ollie, who Thunder Punched his way through all of these flying types. In the previous games, the next step would have been to head north through Twist Mountain, but it's now closed off, so Skyla gives us a lift to the east side of Unova, Letimus Town and Reversal Mountain, which are brand new areas introduced in the sequels. This place feels Hoenn inspired, with wild Pokemon like Skarmory, Spoink, Numel, and Trapinch. By the way, a Trapinch almost ended Ollie in the worst possible matchup. It had the Arena Trap ability, so running away wasn't an option, and Ollie's electric-type moves were useless. To make things worse, it used Dig, and I thought Ollie's fate was sealed. In a panic, I fumbled through my bag for a Hail Mary, and found an unlikely savior, a Poketoy. I always thought this item was useless, and I don't even remember where I got it from, but thanks to it, Ollie got to live another day. While navigating Reversal Mountain, we teamed up with Bianca for some double battles through these caverns. Along the way, I caught a Scorpy that I named Darnock, who quickly evolved into a Drapion. Before long, we emerged into Andella Town. Oh, thank God she's not here anymore. This entire side of Unova was post-game territory in Black and White. Integrating it into the main story like this is a good way to make things feel fresh. The towns have evolved a bit since we last saw them, and another change is where to find the Swords of Justice, who now make some surprise appearances along some routes.
What are you doing here?
Their sudden appearance ties into the story. The Swords of Justice show up when Calamity is near, and we're about to hear what that Calamity might be. In Lacanosa Town, we hear an ancient tale of a dangerous Pokemon that once terrorized the area. Could this be the dragon Pokemon that Zinzolin mentioned? To get more answers, we're directed towards Opelucid City's gym leader, Drayden. On the way, we pass through Village Bridge. I also accidentally knocked out a Virizion, then finally reached Opelucid City where Drayden is. Before we can talk to him, we have to beat his gym. I'm a bit worried because my team does not have great counters to dragon types, so I taught Darnock Ice Fang and hoped for the best. I avoided as much risk as possible, carefully healing, and even skipped the triple battle entirely. Before long, we faced Drayden. Darnock led the charge, setting up some toxic spikes and holding her own against Stratagon. But then, Flygon landed a critical hit, and Darnock fell. Star stepped in to avenge her, setting up a final showdown against Haxorus. While I healed and chipped away at it, this monster managed to set up 2 Dragon Dances, and things were looking grim. But from beyond the grave, Darnock continued to fight. The toxic spikes she set up earlier chipped away at Haxorus little by little, just enough to save us from another loss. My god, I think without that, this run would have been over. Darnock, thank you for your service. With this gym badge secured, Drayden shares what he knows about this mysterious dragon Pokemon we've heard about. In the last games, we learned about the legendary Pokemon, Reshiram and Zekrom, which were once one dragon. But turns out there might have been a third one, Kyurem, a forgotten husk left behind when the other 2 awakened. Nobody knows much about Kyurem, and the only evidence of its existence are the DNA splicers, which are an ancient treasure that Drayden guards. Suddenly, there's an explosion outside. What was that? Two years ago, Team Plasma summoned a castle out of the ground. Now, they've made a flying ship with ice cannons. Whatever they're paying these engineers, it's not enough. Team Plasma storms Opelucid and steals the DNA splicers, then escapes to Humalau City. To get there, we travel through the newly constructed marine tube in Adela Town. And I know we should be in a hurry, but I couldn't help but just stop and admire this place. It's beautiful and honestly completely unnecessary, but very much appreciated. After that pleasant walk, we arrive at Humalau, and it's time to kick some Team Plasma butt. But wait, I guess I have to beat the gym here first? Alright, let's get over this quickly. Well, that was quick. This is the first time I've seen this gym leader, Marlin, and to be honest, I was pretty underwhelmed by his overly laid-back attitude. Anyways, I took one more detour where I caught a Mienfoo that I named Hado, who I evolved into a Mienshao. Then I got back on track with Team Plasma. While looking for them, we run into Terrakion and Colress. And Colress is like, so you're looking for Team Plasma, eh? There might be something interesting at Seaside Cave. Alright man, I'll see you there. And Terrakion, I don't got time for you right now. With Colress's clue, Hugh and I find their ship, but the front is protected by some barriers and a 4-digit code. These guys really blew their budget on building the ship and forgot to hire cybersecurity. After having Hado beat the code out of some Team Plasma grunts, we break through and confront Zinzolin, who reveals that they've captured Kyurem to power their weapon, and will use it to freeze and take over Unova. But Hugh is a man on a mission. He doesn't care about some lame world domination plot. He's locked in on finding his sister's Purloin. After defeating Zinzolin in battle, the Shadow Triad is summoned to kick us off the ship. Team Plasma flies over the giant chasm, we break into the ship again, and fight Zinzolin one more time.
How many times do we have to teach you this lesson, old man?
After that, we enter the ship's helm where it's revealed that Colress is working for Team Plasma. It was obvious, but he never gave off blatantly evil vibes. He's a fun, chaotic neutral scientist obsessed with the potential of Pokemon, and I like him. After our battle, he even encourages us to keep going. In the ship's final chamber, we find Team Plasma's leader, Getsis, and learn the fate of Hugh's missing Purloin. It's been trained by the Shadow Triad, and evolved into something Hugh barely even recognizes. I thought Hugh was about to rage all over the place, but instead he just stands there dejected. Damn bro. We don't have time to dwell though. Getsis needs to be stopped now. Last time he tried ruling Unova, his goal was to convince trainers to release their Pokemon, but because that didn't work out, he's going with plan B, violence. Just when it looks like it's the end for us, a hero arrives.
Yes! Yes! You did it! Fuck yes! Fuck yes!
Oh, and how I missed you. Unfortunately though, our troubles aren't over yet. Getsis uses the DNA splicers to fuse Kyurem and ends Reshiram, creating White Kyurem. It looks glorious. I want it on my team, but I'm not allowed to catch it right now. So I have Mazel defeat it in a contest of firepower. Kyurem is separated from Reshiram and Unova is saved. But there's one more thing we need to take care of. Ghetsis' team is tough, and I found myself carefully rotating through all my Pokemon to avoid losses, but against his Hydreigon, I made a dumb mistake. I was going to have Star use Ice Beam, and for some reason, I thought my bulky four-legged sea lion would be faster than this dragon, and that mistake cost me his life. In the end, we defeat Ghetsis, and the only thing left now is to face the Pokémon League. But man, I wasn't feeling it here. Star may have not carried me through battles as much as Serp did in my last playthrough, but he was reliable, always there when I needed him. Losing him sapped my motivation, and I actually stopped playing this game for a few weeks. But Nuzlocks are about resilience. It's about caring for your team and honoring their sacrifices. So I lifted my head and pressed on towards the Pokémon League. I need to build a team of 6 for the league, and there are 2 slots left. For a new water type, I brought in Gelt the Jellicent, whom I caught in Humalao. For the last slot, I chose Aeon, a Gligar that I caught in Route 11. After evolving him into a Gliscor, I think his dual typing covered a lot of gaps in my team. To be honest, getting through this final stretch of the game felt like a slog. There was no more story, only grinding. It took me a long time to get through Victory Road and level these guys up, but I think we're finally ready. Before tackling the league though, there was just one more rifle match we gotta do against Hugh. I wasn't fond of Hugh as a rifle at first. He had big shoes to fill, as I really liked Bianca and Sharon's characters before him, but I grew to appreciate Hugh. Instead of being on a blind quest for strength and gym badges like the usual rifle, he's driven by finding his sister's stolen Pokemon. When we last saw him, things didn't seem great with the now evolved Leopard, but it sounds like its reunion with his sister went well. So now that he's accomplished his goal, he's content and cheers us on. Hugh, thanks for being a good rifle. I just wish you didn't kill Aeon at the last minute here. Now I have to grind again and fill this last team slot. Aeon was going to be the key to many of the strategies I planned for the Pokémon League, so losing him was not trivial. For a new replacement, I had a lot of Pokemon I caught along my journey to pick from, but I think there was really only one good option left that would guarantee my victory. Axew. This line carried me to my Pokémon White Nuzlocke, and I needed it to do it again. I did another round of grinding, completely emptied out my wallet on vitamins to boost my stats, and I think I was finally ready. First, we've got Hado and Mazel, high attack glass cannons. Then there's Gelt, Glory, and Ollie, my reliable all-rounders. And last but certainly not least, our new Haxorus, Pinata, the powerhouse. Let's take on the... So I just got the hiccups, and I really don't want to record the rest of the audio like this, so we'll take on the Pokemon League after that ends. Alright, first up is Grimsley's Dark types. Hado absolutely destroyed his team. Next was Caitlyn. I didn't have a direct counter for her psychic types, but that didn't matter. Mazel and her insanely high attack stat overwhelmed her Pokemon. Marshall was next. I led with Gelt, who knocked out Throw, but I quickly realized he wasn't going to last much longer, so I switched to my backup plan, Glory. Hardly anything in Marshall's team was super effective against Glory, so after a bit of attrition, she was able to knock everyone out. The last Elite Four member is Chantal. I was the most worried about her, because she was the one who ended my Pokemon White Nuzlocke. I tried having Mazel solo again, but I underestimated Kafagris's defense, and she fell. For a moment, I thought that I was about to lose everything here again, but thankfully, Ollie and Glory handled the rest of this fight, and we managed to avoid any more losses. Now it's finally time for the champion, Iris. From the moment her theme started, I knew this was going to be one of my favorite champion fights of all time. Compared to Cynthia's ominous piano in Generation 4, which is one of my other favorite champion battles, Iris's upbeat and fun vibe is a perfect contrast. Plus, we're battling in space. How can you not be excited here? For our battle, I led with Ollie and set up a light screen before using Volt Switch to bring out my trump card, Pinata. I've avoided using him for the earlier Elite Four battles just for this moment. The plan was simple.
I'll have a Krabby Patty.
How original.
And with extra onions.
Daring today, aren't we?
Look, I'm not proud of reusing this strat from my last Nuzlocke, but hey, if it works, it works. Hydreigon's super effective Dragon Pulse would have been a problem, but I planned for it. Ollie's light screen helped Pinata survive the blast, and he was able to pull off 2 Dragon Dances. From there, it was smooth sailing through Lapras, Archeops, Triton, and Aggron. They all fell before Pinata's wrath. Iris then brought out her final Pokemon, a Haxorus of her own. Here, I made an oversight and didn't notice that it held a Focus Sash, protecting it from a one-hit KO, and Iris used this opening to take out Pinata. I still had 4 Pokemon left, but none seemed like they could stand a chance against Haxorus, except Gelt. Unlike Star before him, Gelt managed to get an Ice Beam off and finish this fight. With that, we've become the new champion of the Unova region. Whew, what a journey. After my Nuzlocke with Pokemon White, I remember being apprehensive about trying another one, but I'm glad I did. This one went so much better, even with the added difficulty of level caps for each gym. I was way more careful, there were way less casualties, and I actually beat the Pokémon League without having to reset. I'm still bummed about losing Star, and the journey was still a bit stressful, but I got a lot of satisfaction from this challenge, and I plan on trying out Nuzlocks again in future runs. But putting the Nuzlocke part of my playthrough aside, I want to reflect on the game itself. Are the sequels as good as people say they are? To me, the answer isn't so black and white. I thought this game was an incredible sequel. And honestly, even with my Gen 4 nostalgic bias, I think Black and White 2 are a more impressive sequel to Black and White than Platinum was to Diamond and Pearl. While most other Pokemon sequels like Platinum made more straightforward improvements and followed the same beats as its predecessors, Black and White 2 took a braver approach by doing a 2-year time skip and changing a lot more. The routes you took, the characters, and the story. The progression felt very organic to me, and it was fascinating to see how this region evolved over time. From a gameplay perspective, I think Black and White 2 are top tier. Unova was already a rich region, but the new locations like the entire starting area, Letimus Town, the Marine Tube, and Humelau City, plus gym revamps like Berg's and Elisa's, breathe fresh life into it. The expanded Pokédex was also a nice improvement. I'm skeptical about how realistic it is for this many Pokemon to have shown up in Unova after only 2 years, but whatever. And while I didn't really cover it in this playthrough, I feel obligated to mention the Pokemon World Tournament. It's one of the best post-game features in the entire series, giving fans a love letter to generations past. Another thing the sequels get right is the music, which isn't really a surprise, all Pokemon games nail this. But I like how this game uniquely used voice acting in their songs. Pokemon really needs to bring that back. And no, Ed Sheeran doesn't count. Now, when it came to the story though, I have to admit that I prefer Black and White. In those games, the narrative was masterfully woven. Your rivals, the gym leaders, Team Plasma, and your quest to become champion all felt interconnected, with N as the core. But in Black and White 2, those same elements felt disjointed, and compared to the last games, Team Plasma just didn't land for me. Without the emotional weight and philosophical stakes brought by N's character, they just felt like a hollow shell of their former selves. I get the parallel with how Kyurem is a literal hollow shell without Reshiram or Zekrom, and I do really appreciate that they went for something different with the story in the sequels, but I just felt like it ended up as a less interesting aftermath of something grander that came before it. But who knows, maybe nostalgia for Pokemon White is making me biased, so let me know if I'm missing something. That said, everything else more than made up for my lukewarm feelings about the plot. Black and White 2 are still phenomenal games, and the time skip approach created a refreshing experience. I wouldn't say I like them more than the originals like a lot of other people do, but they absolutely stand alongside them as masterpieces. And if you haven't played either, I highly recommend playing them both in order, because Black and White 2 might just be the best example of how to do a Pokemon sequel right.